If I had a nickel for every time I heard a CEO say data is the new oil,
Oh, here we go.
I could probably buy my own oil rig. It's just, it's reached that point.
Right, it's the ultimate boardroom cliche. Absolutely. It's on the bingo card.
Right. And usually the person saying it is implying, look at us, we're rich. But based on the research for today's deep dive, there's a much sharper and frankly more painful way to look at that.
Which is?
That for most companies, it's crude oil. It's messy, it's unrefined, and it's buried deep underground.
That's a perfect analogy. You can't put crude oil in your car.
Exactly. And you can't put raw database rows into a boardroom presentation.
And that's the problem our sources are tackling today. Companies are sitting on terabytes of value. I mean, sales figures, financials, you name it.
Yeah.
But it's all locked up in SQL databases.
It's dark data.
Yeah.
And to get it, you have to speak its language, you have to speak SQL, and let's be honest, the head of marketing probably doesn't.
No, they don't. And that creates what the literature calls the analyst bottleneck.
I feel like everyone listening has felt this pain. You're in a meeting, you have a killer question. Like, how did our new pricing affect churn in the Midwest? And you just get, blank stares.
Because the answer is buried. So what do? You file a ticket.
The dreaded ticket.
You ask the data analyst, who already has a backlog of 50 other tickets. So maybe 3 days later, maybe next week, you get your report.
But the moment has passed. The decision was already made, probably on a gut feeling.
Exactly. The oil stayed underground.
Yeah.
But today, we're diving into the tech that promises to bypass that whole process. We're looking at conversational SQL agents.
This is the promise of going from that friction-heavy reporting to, what? Instant answers.
Instant conversational insights.
Okay, it sounds like the Star Trek computer. You just asked the question. Yeah. But I'm skeptical. We've seen natural language search before, and it's usually not great.
Right.
What's different this time?
The engine is different.
Yeah.
The core magic here is a specific application of LLMs called Text-to-SQL.
So the large language model is basically acting as a universal translator.
Think of it as a bridge. On one side, you have human language, which is messy and vague, like show me revenue by region for last month.
Okay.
And on the other side, you have the rigid, perfect logic of the database. Select some revenue from, all that code. The LLM connects the two.
But here's my big concern. We've all used ChatGPT. We know it can, let's say, hallucinate.
It can be creative, yes.
Very creative. And that's fine if you're asking for a poem. But if I'm asking about my company's Q3 revenue, I cannot have it inventing $1 million.
That is the #1 most critical risk. And if you just hook a raw LLM up to your database, you are asking for serious trouble. It's just a text generator.
You might just make up a column name because it sounds plausible.
Exactly. It might invent profit margin because that should exist. And that's terrifying for a CFO.
It's a non-starter.
Which is why the sources are so clear. We aren't just using an LLM. We're building an agent.
Okay, so help us make that distinction. What is the agent doing that the raw LLM isn't?
If the LLM is the brain, the agent is the whole system around it. It's the architecture that gives it guardrails, context, and validation.
Let's walk through that. I want to visualize this. So I'm a sales VP. I type which products had the highest return rate last week. What happens?
So first, the user interface captures your text. Simple enough. It passes that to the LLM engine. But, and this is the crucial part, before the LLM writes any code, it needs a map.
A map of the database?
Precisely. Metadata. The agent gives the LLM the database schema. It says, okay, here are the tables, here are the columns, here's what return rate actually means.
So it's not guessing anymore.
It's working from a blueprint. So the LLM drafts a SQL query, but it doesn't just run it. This is where the agent logic comes in.
The safety valve.
The safety valve. And the most fascinating part of this logic, I think, is the retry mechanism.
The self-correction leap. I saw this in the notes. This sounds almost human.
It is. So let's say the LLM makes a mistake. It writes a query for a column called total returns, but the real column name is returns count.
In the old world, the system just breaks. You get a big red error message.
Right. But here, the agent intercepts that error from the database. It doesn't show it to you. Instead, it takes the error message.
And feeds it back to the LLM.
It feeds it back in as a new prompt. It essentially tells the LLM, you messed up. The database said column does not exist. Try again.
So the AI is learning from its own mistakes in real time.
Exactly. It looks at the error, looks at the schema again, realizes its mistake, and rewrites the code correctly.
And as the user, I see none of this frantic paddling under the water.
Nope. For you, maybe the little spinner spins for half a second longer, and then boom, the right answer appears.
That is the difference between a cool tech demo and a real enterprise tool.
It's resilience. And once that correct query runs, the last step is the response formatter, because you don't want a wall of text.
Just rows and columns.
No. The agent sees the data and decides, this looks like a trend, let's make a line chart, or this is one number, let's make it a big KPI card.
So it's natural language in, visual insight out.
That's the whole loop.
I want to go back to the guardrails idea, because if I'm an IT director listening to this, I'm still nervous. I am not letting some AI write and run code against my production database.
Understandably.
What if it hallucinates a command like drop table customer?
That is the nightmare scenario. Oops, I deleted the company.
Right. How do we stop the AI from going rogue?
The number one rule, the foundational rule, is read-only access.
It sounds simple, but what does it mean in practice?
The database user account that the agent logs in with has its permissions crippled. It can only select data, it can look, but it can't touch.
So it literally cannot insert, update, or delete.
Exactly. So even if the LLM has a total meltdown and writes the most malicious code imaginable, the database itself just says, permission denied. It hits a brick wall.
Okay, my blood pressure is coming down. That's a huge relief. So we've established it's resilient, it's safe. Let's talk about the why. What does this do for a company? The sources use the word democratization.
It's a bit of a buzzword, but I think it fits here. It's about giving that analyst-only data to everyone else.
Can you give me a few concrete examples? How does this change a Tuesday morning for, say, a finance manager?
Okay, so take finance. Variance analysis budget versus actuals is usually this slow monthly process.
Looking in the rearview mirror.
Totally. With an agent, a manager can ask on the 15th of the month, how are our Q2 margins tracking against the budget so far? And they get an answer instantly. They can fix a problem while it's still happening.
That's a game changer. What about a sales team?
Pipeline visibility. Instead of the sales VP asking a question and the manager fumbling through a 24-hour-old slide deck.
I've been in that meeting.
We all have. Now, the VP just asks the agent, show me the top 5 regions by conversion rate this week. And the data is live right now. It turns a status update into a strategy session.
Okay, so finance and sales are happy, but what about the data analysts themselves? Am I out of a job if my main role is fetching these reports?
It's a fair question. But the sources are actually pretty optimistic here. Think about how much of an analyst's day is just drudgery. Can you pull this number? Can you update this spreadsheet?
Being a number librarian.
Exactly. And they hate it. This automates the boring stuff. It frees them up to work on the big, complex problems that the AI can't touch.
So the AI handles the what, and the analyst gets to focus on the why and the what's next.
That's it. The AI carries the bricks so the analyst can design the cathedral. It's about increasing their productivity, not replacing them.
I'm sold on the vision. Let's talk brass tacks. How do I actually build this? This brings us to that fork in the road, right? The deployment pathways.
Cloud versus control. Option A is the cloud route, using a big managed service like Azure or the OpenAI API.
And the pros there are speed and power.
For sure. It's fast, it's smart, you don't have to manage the hardware. The con is privacy. You're sending your database schema and sometimes sample data out to a third party.
Which is a non-starter for a bank or a hospital.
Absolutely. Which brings us to option B, offline or on-premise. You run a local LLM on your own servers.
The air-gapped approach.
Nothing leaves the building. It's super secure. The catch is hardware and expertise. You need some serious GPUs to run a model smart enough to write good SQL.
So you're trading a subscription fee for a capital expense and a maintenance headache.
That's the trade-off. It's the difference between renting a Ferrari and building one in your garage.
That's a fantastic way to put it. So as we wrap up, we need a quick reality check. Where does this whole thing fall apart?
It breaks on complexity, specifically messy data. If your database has tables named T99X and columns like EDR1.
Oh, legacy systems.
Legacy systems. The AI will get hopelessly confused. You have to clean your house before you invite the AI guest in. You need good, clean metadata.
Garbage in, garbage out. Still true.
And you still need a human in the loop. The agent can still misinterpret a nuanced question and pull the wrong but technically correct data. For a huge decision, you need an analyst to verify the query.
Trust, but verify.
Especially when the stakes are high.
So, bringing it all together, we started with data as crude oil. And this agent architecture is the refinery. What's the biggest takeaway for you?
For me, it's about the speed of curiosity. The barrier to being data-driven is dropping to almost zero. You no longer need to be a technical expert to get answers. You just need to be curious.
That's a powerful idea, and I want to leave our listeners with one final thought on that.
Go for it.
For decades, business leaders have had a convenient excuse. I didn't have the data, or the report wasn't ready.
Plausible deniability.
Exactly. But what happens when getting the numbers is as easy as sending a text message. What happens to all those excuses?
They just evaporate.
They evaporate. When the data is hard to get, ignorance is understandable. But when the data is conversational, ignorance becomes a choice. And I think that's going to make some people very successful and others very uncomfortable.
I think you're absolutely right.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.